Please, sir, please, you have to help her. She's bleeding so much and the babies. I think the babies are coming too early. I dropped my coffee cup. The voice belonged to a young girl, maybe 14, with desperate eyes and dirt-stained clothes. She was pulling at my sleeve outside Seoul National Hospital, tears streaming down her dark cheeks. My mama, she's over there by the fountain. She collapsed and I don't know what to do. Please, you're a doctor, right? The security guard said you're the best doctor here. 8 years. 8 years I'd been carrying guilt like a stone in my chest, searching every hospital corridor, every clinic, every corner of this city. And when I finally found her again, she was dying in the rain, begging me to save not just her life, but the lives she carried. What I discovered in that moment would either heal the deepest wound in my heart, or destroy what little peace I'd managed to build. The girl's accent was distinctly Nigerian, mixed with perfect Seoul pronunciation. Something about her face made my breath catch. Those eyes. I knew those eyes. Show me where she is, I said, already moving. Before I tell you what happened when I saw her face, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because what I'm about to share will make you question everything you think you know about family, sacrifice, and second chances. Subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, where some stories are too powerful to keep buried. The girl led me across the hospital plaza, her small hand gripping mine with surprising strength. Her name is Amara, she said breathlessly. Amara Adebayo. She's from Lagos but she's been in Seoul for a long time. My steps faltered. Amara. The name I'd whispered in empty hospital corridors during night shifts. The name I'd searched for in patient databases across 3 countries. She taught me Korean, the girl continued, unaware that each word was shattering something inside me. She said I needed to know both languages because I'm both, you know? Nigerian and something else. We reached the fountain and I saw her. Even collapsed against the wet concrete, even pale and shaking, even 8 years older and worn by circumstances I could only imagine, it was unmistakably her. Amara. My Amara. She was heavily pregnant, her traditional Nigerian headwrap soaked with rain and her own sweat. Her breathing was shallow and labored. Mama. The girl dropped to her knees beside the woman. Mama, I found the doctor. The one from the big hospital. Amara's eyes fluttered open. When they focused on my face, I watched her expression cycle through shock, fear, and something that looked like relief. Kim Jean, she whispered in Yoruba, then caught herself. I mean, Dr. Kim. The way she said my name, even now, even like this, it was exactly the same. Soft, with that slight smile in her voice that used to make me forget everything else existed. Don't try to talk, I said, dropping my medical bag and checking her pulse. Racing. Too fast. I'm going to get you inside. How far along are you? 32 weeks, she gasped. Twins. They've been trying to come for hours. 32 weeks was early but survivable. What terrified me was the amount of blood I could see pooling beneath her. What's your daughter's name? I asked while signaling for an emergency gurney. Amara's eyes found the girl's face. Kemi, she said softly. Her name is Kemi. Kemi. In Yoruba, it meant, care for me. But the way Amara said it, with that particular tenderness, it sounded almost like the pet name she used to call me. Kima. Kimai, Kemi. Kemi, I repeated, looking at the girl with new eyes. 14 years old. Mixed heritage. Those familiar dark eyes with just a hint of the single-fold eyelid that marked East Asian genetics. The timing was impossible to ignore. Dr. Kim? The girl, Kemi, was watching me carefully. You look like you've seen a ghost. A ghost. That's exactly what this was. A beautiful, impossible ghost from the life I'd lost 8 years ago. The emergency team arrived with the gurney. As we lifted Amara onto it, she grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Kim Jean, she whispered urgently. If something happens to me. Kemi doesn't know about, she doesn't know who. Nothing is going to happen to you, I said firmly. I won't let it. But as we rushed toward the emergency entrance, Amara unconscious now and Kemi running beside the gurney, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was looking at more than just a medical emergency. I was staring at 8 years of unanswered questions, at a young girl who carried herself with Amara's fierce independence and my mother's stubborn determination, and at the woman who disappeared with my heart, carrying secrets I was only beginning to understand. The automatic doors slid open and we entered the bright fluorescent world of emergency medicine. But all I could think about was a conversation from 8 years ago, cut short by pride and cultural expectations. A conversation that had ended with Amara walking away from everything we'd built together. Had she been trying to tell me something that night? Something important enough to change everything? As the elevator doors closed on us, me, Amara, and the daughter whose existence was rewriting my understanding of the past 8 years, I realized I was about to discover the answer to a question I'd been afraid to ask. What if the love I'd thought I'd lost had never really left at all? Doctor, we need her blood type for the transfusion, the nurse said, checking Amara's wrist for a medical bracelet. AB negative, I replied automatically, then froze. How did I know that? The nurse looked surprised. That's correct. It's in her old records from 2016. Do you know this patient? 8 years ago, I had memorized every detail about Amara's health during our relationship. AB negative blood type, allergic to penicillin, low iron levels she stubbornly ignored. I used to worry about her constantly. We have a history, I said carefully. Kemi stood in the corner of the emergency room, watching everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. She hadn't left her mother's side once, even when the nurses tried to move her to the waiting area. Excuse me, she said to the nurse. Is my mama going to be okay? The babies, are they going to be okay? We're doing everything we can, sweetheart, the nurse replied gently. Dr. Kim is one of our best. Kemi looked at me with an expression that was hauntingly familiar. It was the same look Amara used to give me when she was trying to figure out if she could trust me with something important. Dr. Kim, she said slowly. That's a common name here, right? Fairly common, I agreed, checking her mother's monitors. Why do you ask? My mama, sometimes when she has fevered dreams, she talks about someone named Kim. She says things like, Kim would know what to do, or, Kim always made everything better. My hand stilled on the blood pressure cuff. She talks about him a lot. I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Only when she's really sick or really scared, Kemi said. Like when we had nowhere to sleep last winter and she got pneumonia. She kept saying, find Kim, but she never told me who Kim was. The cardiac monitor beeped faster. Amara was waking up. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then landing on my face. I watched recognition dawn, followed immediately by panic. Kemi, she whispered urgently. Kemi, come here. I'm here, Mama. Kemi rushed to her side. The doctor is taking care of you. Amara's eyes never left mine. This doctor, do you know who this is? His name is Dr. Kim, Kemi said innocently. He's been really nice to us. I saw Amara's internal struggle playing out across her face. Tell the truth or protect the secret she'd carried for 14 years? Dr. Kim, Amara repeated softly. Yes. I remember you. That was all she said, but the weight of those words settled between us like a stone. Mama, do you know each other? Kemi asked, looking between us curiously. We worked together once, Amara said carefully. A long time ago. Worked together. That's how she chose to describe the 2 years we spent building a life together, planning a future, talking about children and dreams and growing old together. Really? Kemi's face lit up. Were you friends? Amara's eyes met mine over our daughter's head. We were very good friends. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here was our daughter, asking about our relationship, and neither of us knew how to answer. Kemi, I said gently, would you mind getting your mother some water from the cafeteria? She needs to stay hydrated. Of course. Kemi jumped up eagerly. I'll be right back, Mama. After she left, silence stretched between us like a bridge neither of us wanted to cross. She's beautiful, I said finally. She's everything to me, Amara replied, not quite answering the question I hadn't asked. Amara. I need to know. Is she? Don't. Her voice was sharp. Don't ask questions you're not ready for the answers to. I've been ready for 14 years, I said quietly. She laughed bitterly. Have you? Because 14 years ago, when I tried to tell you I was pregnant, your family made it very clear that a Nigerian woman and her mixed child would never be welcome in their world. My heart stopped. You tried to tell me you were pregnant? That night. The night I left. I came to your apartment to tell you about the baby. Her voice broke slightly. But your parents were there. I heard everything they said about me, about what I would do to your reputation, your career, your future. I remembered that night. My parents had cornered me with an ultimatum about Amara. But I thought she'd left because she couldn't handle the pressure, not because she was protecting our unborn child. I was going to choose you, I whispered. I was going to tell them it didn't matter what they thought. And then what? Amara's eyes flashed with old pain. You would have resented me eventually. Your family would have made sure of it. That's not true. Isn't it? Your mother told me that loving you meant letting you go. She said if I really cared about your happiness, I would disappear and let you marry someone appropriate. The monitors started beeping faster as Amara's blood pressure spiked. You need to stay calm, I said, immediately switching back to doctor mode. The babies need you to stay calm. The babies, she repeated, her hand moving to her swollen belly. What if I can't? You can. You're the strongest person I've ever known. I adjusted her drip. You survived raising our daughter alone for 14 years. You can survive this. Our daughter. I'd said it out loud. Amara stared at me. You know. I suspected the moment I saw her. She has your determination and my mother's stubborn chin. I sat down heavily in the chair beside her bed. But I needed to hear it from you. Are you angry? Angry? I looked at her in disbelief. I'm devastated. I missed everything. Her first words, first steps, first day of school. I missed 14 years of being her father. You would have been a wonderful father, Amara said softly. That's why it hurts so much to take that away from you. Before I could respond, Kemi returned with a cup of water and a bright smile. The nurse said the baby's heartbeats are strong, she announced proudly. She said they're fighters, just like their mama. Just like their big sister too, I said, looking at Kemi with new eyes. She blushed at the compliment. Mama always says I'm stubborn like my father, whoever he is. Amara choked on her water. Are you okay, Mama? Fine, baby girl. Just tired. I watched this interaction between mother and daughter, seeing the easy affection, the protective instincts, the way they communicated with just looks. Kemi had grown up knowing she was loved, even without knowing who her father was. But as I observed them together, I noticed other things too. The way Kemi's clothes were clean but worn, how she automatically checked the room for exits, the mature way she handled adult conversations. These were survival skills, learned from years of uncertainty. My daughter had grown up homeless, and I'd had no idea she existed. Dr. Kim? Kemi was looking at me with concern. You look sad. Just thinking about something, I said. Mama says thinking too much about sad things makes them grow bigger inside you. She says it's better to think about what you can fix. Amara closed her eyes, and I wondered if she was thinking the same thing I was. Some things couldn't be fixed. But maybe, just maybe, some things could still be built. Dr. Kim, we have a problem. The head nurse burst through the door, her face pale. The patient's blood pressure is dropping rapidly, and we're detecting signs of placental abruption. My blood turned to ice. Placental abruption meant the placenta was separating from the uterine wall. Without immediate intervention, we could lose all three of them. Prep or three immediately, I commanded, already moving toward Amara's bed. And call Dr. Chen from neonatal surgery. What's happening? Kemi grabbed my arm, her voice high with fear. What's wrong with Mama? Amara was conscious but growing weaker by the minute. Her breathing was shallow, and I could see the pain she was trying to hide from our daughter. The babies want to come out now, I explained gently to Kemi. We need to help them. But it's too early, isn't it? Kemi's eyes were wide with terror. They're too small. They're fighters, I said, echoing her earlier words. Just like their mother and their big sister. As we rushed toward the operating room, Amara caught my hand. If something happens to me, she whispered urgently, promise me you'll take care of her. Promise me you'll tell her everything. Nothing is going to happen to you, I said fiercely. I'm not losing you again. But even as I said the words, I could see her life slipping away. Her lips were turning pale, and her grip on my hand was getting weaker. Sir, we need to stop here, the nurse said as we reached the doors. Family members can't go beyond this point. I want to go with Mama. Kemi cried, trying to push past the nurse. You can't, sweetheart, I said, kneeling down to her eye level. But I promise you, I will take care of her. I won't let anything happen to your mother or your baby brothers. Brothers? Kemi's tear-streaked face showed confusion. How do you know they're boys? I realized my mistake immediately. I had no medical reason to know the gender of the babies yet. Lucky guess, I said quickly, but Kemi was staring at me with new intensity. As they wheeled Amara into surgery, she looked back at Kemi one last time. Be brave, my angel, she called out in Yoruba. No matter what happens, remember that you are loved more than all the stars in the sky. The doors closed with a final, ominous thud. Kemi and I stood alone in the hallway, the weight of the situation settling between us like a heavy blanket. She's going to die, isn't she? Kemi asked quietly. No, I said with more confidence than I felt. She's going to fight, and she's going to win. That's what mothers do. How do you know so much about what mothers do? The question hung in the air. How could I explain that I'd spent years imagining what kind of mother Amara would be, never knowing she already was one? My mother died when I was young, I said instead, which was true. During childbirth. So I became a doctor to make sure other mothers don't have to. Kemi looked at me with sudden understanding. That's why you became a baby doctor specifically. Yes. And that's why you look so scared right now. Because this is like what happened to your mother. This 14-year-old girl was reading me like a book, seeing straight through to fears I'd never voiced to anyone. I'm not scared, I lied. Yes, you are. Your hands are shaking. She reached out and touched my trembling fingers. It's okay to be scared. Mama says being scared just means you care about something important. Her small hand in mine felt like an anchor. This brave, wise child who'd been taking care of her mother alone was now trying to comfort me. Kemi, I said carefully, can I ask you something? Sure. Your mother, when she talks about Kim and her fever dreams, does she ever say anything else? Anything specific? Kemi frowned in concentration. Sometimes she says, I should have told Kim about the baby. And sometimes she cries and says, Kim would have been such a good father. My heart stopped beating. She says that? Yeah. And once, when she was really sick, she looked right at me and said, You have your father's eyes, little one. He would be so proud of you. I stared at this remarkable young woman who carried half my DNA and all of Amara's strength. Kemi, what if I told you that Kim isn't just someone your mother used to know? What if Kim was someone very important to her? Before she could answer, the doors burst open and Dr. Chen emerged, still in his surgical scrubs. Dr. Kim, we need to talk. Now. The gravity in his voice made my stomach drop. Is she? I couldn't finish the question. She's alive, but barely. We've managed to deliver the twins, and they're in stable condition in the NICU. But Amara, she's lost a lot of blood. We're looking at multiple complications. Kemi grabbed my arm. What does that mean? Is my mama going to be okay? Dr. Chen looked uncomfortable. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare for the possibility that she might not wake up. No. Kemi's voice was fierce. No, that's not acceptable. She has to wake up. She has to meet her sons. Her sons. Not the babies, or her baby brothers. Her sons. The way she said it, with such fierce protectiveness, reminded me exactly of Amara. Can I see her? I asked Dr. Chen. She's unconscious, but yes. Just, be prepared. She looks very fragile right now. As we walked toward the ICU, Kemi suddenly stopped walking. Dr. Kim, she said quietly. You're Kim, aren't you? The Kim my mother talks about. There was no point in denying it anymore. Yes, I said simply. And you're? She paused, working up the courage for the question that would change everything. You're my father. Yes. She stared at me for a long moment, processing this information. Are you angry that I exist? She asked finally. Angry? I knelt down so we were eye level again. Kemi, you are the most incredible surprise of my life. I'm not angry. I'm grateful. I'm terrified. I'm overwhelmed. But I'm not angry. Then why did you leave us? I didn't leave you. I didn't know about you. If I had known. I took a shaky breath. If I had known about you, I would have moved heaven and earth to find you both. Really? Really? I've been looking for your mother for 8 years. Every day, I hoped I would see her again. I just never imagined that she had your daughter. That I had been blessed with such an amazing daughter. For the first time since this nightmare began, Kemi smiled. So those baby boys in there, they're my real brothers. And you're their father too. Yes. And we're a family now? The question was so hopeful, so innocent, so full of trust that it nearly broke me. If you want us to be. I do. But only if Mama wakes up. I won't have a family without her. Then we better make sure she wakes up. We reached the ICU, and through the glass window, I could see Amara connected to multiple machines, her face pale but peaceful. She looks so small, Kemi whispered. She's the strongest person I know, I said. She raised you, didn't she? She kept you both alive and safe for 14 years. She's not going to give up now. But as I looked at the love of my life lying unconscious, possibly dying, I wondered if strength would be enough this time. Dr. Kim? A nurse approached us. The twins are asking for you in the NICU. Well, not asking exactly, but they seem to respond to your voice. They know their father's voice, Kemi said matter-of-factly. Mama always said babies know their parents, even before they're born. As we walked toward the NICU to meet my sons, I realized that in the span of a few hours, I had gone from being a man with no family to being a father of 3 children. The only question now was whether their mother would survive to see the family we'd accidentally created. The twins are beautiful, Kemi whispered, pressing her face against the NICU glass. They're so tiny. Inside their incubators, my sons slept peacefully, their small chests rising and falling with mechanical precision. Tubes and wires connected them to machines that beeped softly in rhythm. They're fighters, I said, watching their tiny hands curl into fists. 32 weeks is early, but they're strong. What are their names? Kemi asked. Mama never told me what she wanted to call them. I realized we'd been so focused on saving them that we'd never discussed names. These were my sons, and I didn't even know what to call them. We'll have to ask your mother when she wakes up, I said. When, not if, Kemi noted with approval. I like that. For 3 days, we maintained this careful balance of hope and fear. Kemi refused to leave the hospital, sleeping in the family room and eating cafeteria food. I arranged for temporary guardianship papers and took leave from my regular duties to stay close. On the 4th morning, a miracle happened. Dr. Kim, the ICU nurse, called out excitedly. She's waking up. We rushed to Amara's bedside just as her eyes fluttered open. She looked confused at first, then panicked. The babies, she gasped, trying to sit up. Where are my babies? They're safe, I said immediately, gently pressing her back down. They're in the NICU, and they're doing well. Mama. Kemi threw herself into the chair beside the bed. You scared me so much. Amara's eyes filled with tears as she reached for our daughter's hand. I'm sorry, my brave girl. I'm so sorry you had to go through that alone. She wasn't alone, I said quietly. We took care of each other. Amara looked at me with surprise, then at Kemi, then back at me. You told him, she said to Kemi. Actually, I figured it out, Kemi replied with a small smile. He's not very good at hiding things. Are you angry? Amara asked me. We've already had this conversation, I said, sitting down on the other side of her bed. I'm not angry. I'm grateful. And scared, Kemi added helpfully. He was really scared when you were in surgery. Thanks for the support, I said dryly, but I was smiling. Amara studied both of our faces. So what happens now? It was the question I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Now we figure out how to be a family, I said. Is that what you want? Amara's voice was careful, guarded. Or is that what you think you should want? Before I could answer, my parents appeared in the doorway. I'd called them yesterday to explain the situation, but seeing them here made everything suddenly real. So this is her, my mother said, looking at Amara with curious eyes. Mom, Dad, this is Amara, I said formally. And this is Kemi, your granddaughter. The word granddaughter seemed to hit them both like a physical blow. Granddaughter, my father repeated slowly. Kemi stood up politely, bowing slightly in the traditional manner I'd apparently never taught her. Hello, she said in perfect, formal speech. It's nice to meet you. The cultural gesture from this mixed-race child seemed to surprise my parents. You speak beautifully, my mother said, and I could hear the approval in her voice. Thank you. Mama taught me that respect is important in all cultures. My parents looked at Amara with new interest. You taught her about our customs? My father asked. I taught her about her father's customs, Amara replied diplomatically. I thought someday she might want to know where half of her heritage came from. And what about your heritage? My mother asked. What did you teach her about that? Everything, Kemi answered proudly. I can make jollof rice, I speak 3 Nigerian languages, and I know all the stories about our ancestors. 3 languages? My father looked impressed despite himself. Yoruba, Igbo, and English, Kemi listed. Plus some basic Mandarin from school. School? I asked. Kemi, how did you go to school if you were homeless? She finished matter-of-factly. Mama made sure I went every day. She said education was the one thing no one could ever take away from me. My parents exchanged a look I couldn't quite read. That's very wise, my mother said to Amara. Children need stability, Amara replied. Even when adults can't provide it in traditional ways. About that, I interjected. You're never going to be homeless again. Either of you. All of you. We can't just move in with you, Amara protested. It's not that simple. Why not? Because. She gestured helplessly toward my parents. Because this is exactly what I was afraid of 14 years ago. Cultural expectations, family pressure, doing the right thing instead of the wanted thing. What if they're the same thing now? I asked. Are they? Amara looked directly at my parents. Are you here because you want to know your granddaughter, or because you feel obligated to accept her? My mother was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, she said finally. I came here prepared to be polite but distant. I thought you would be different. Different how? Less educated. Less dignified. Less. She paused, searching for words. Less like someone who could raise a child to be respectful and intelligent and strong. You mean less Nigerian, Amara said bluntly. Yes, my mother admitted. I'm ashamed to say that, but yes. The honesty was brutal but necessary. And now? Amara asked. Now I see a woman who sacrificed everything to give her daughter the best life possible, my mother said. And a granddaughter who is polite, intelligent, and clearly loved. A granddaughter who is half Nigerian, Amara pointed out. A granddaughter who is fully ours, my father said quietly. The words hung in the air like a gift. Does this mean we can be a real family? Kemi asked hopefully. If that's what everyone wants, I said, looking around the room. I want it, Kemi said immediately. I want it, I said. I want it too, Amara said softly. But I need to know we're doing this right. Not out of obligation or guilt, but because we choose each other. Then let's choose each other, I said simply. 2 weeks later, we brought the twins home to my apartment. Kemi had named them David and Samuel, strong names that worked in both cultures. They're so small, Kemi marveled, watching me change David's diaper. How do you know what to do? I read 17 books on premature infant care, I admitted. 17? Amara laughed from the couch where she was feeding Samuel. That sounds like you. Research is important, I said defensively. So is instinct, she replied. You'll learn. My parents had been visiting daily, bringing food and baby supplies. My mother had even learned to make a simplified version of jollof rice after Kemi mentioned missing it. It's not as good as Mama's, Kemi had told her diplomatically. But it's good for a beginner. My mother had laughed instead of taking offense, which I took as progress. Are you happy? I asked Amara one evening as we watched Kemi read to the twins. I'm terrified, she said honestly. But yes, I'm happy. Terrified of what? That this is too good to be real. That something will happen to break it apart again. I understood that fear. We'd built something beautiful from broken pieces, but broken things are always more fragile. We'll protect it, I said. All of us. Together. Together, she agreed. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in the nursery watching my sons sleep. David had Amara's stubborn chin, and Samuel had my mother's long fingers. They were perfect combinations of all the people who loved them. Can't sleep? Amara appeared in the doorway. Just thinking. About what? About how different everything could have been if we'd been braver 14 years ago. Maybe we weren't ready to be brave then, she said, coming to stand beside me. Maybe we needed to learn how to fight for love instead of just feeling it. And now? Now we know what we're fighting for. Through the window, dawn was breaking over Seoul. A new day for our complicated, beautiful, blended family. I love you, I said, the words I should have said 14 years ago. I love you too, she replied. All of you. This whole messy, wonderful family. Sometimes the greatest medical miracle isn't saving a life. Sometimes it's learning that love doesn't have to be perfect to be real, and family doesn't have to be traditional to be forever.